When you swallow up,
We're contemplating even stranger possibilities in our own laboratories. In 1818, when Mary Shelley first conceived of the barren Frankenstein, the idea of one human being fabricating another was sheer fantasy. Now the inconceivable has become a near reality. As scientists around the world do research on new and prominent field of genetic engineering. By a process known as cloning, we can now reproduce genetically identical copies of an individual organism. Already experiments in cloning plants and lower animal forms have been successful. The way has been paved for similar experiments. At the University of California at San Diego, Dr. Walter Desmond is carrying out research in cloning. In this laboratory, we're working with a variety of cultured cell lines. These are cells originating from various tissues of the body. They grow essentially forever in culture vessels. The material from which we start,
when you swallow up,
is made up of a number of different kinds of cells. Since we are often interested in studying only one cell type, it is desirable to have cultures that come from a single cell. We would expect then all cells in such a culture to be identical. This is accomplished by cloning, putting a very small number, even one cell, in a culture dish and allowing the individual cells to grow. Colonies of cells arising where there was originally only one can be isolated and studied with the assurance that all of these cells are of identical origin. There's still some question whether cells of higher animals have this potential. At the University of Indiana, Dr. Janice Brothers has been doing extensive work on the development of lower animal forms such as salamanders from a single parental source. Thus, the new specimen salamander grows up to be essentially an identical twin, a generation removed of the single parent.
Axolotls are a type of salamander which comes from Lake Yacumoco in Mexico. The axolotl is useful to scientists because many mutations have been described in
when you swallow up,
the development of each characteristic of the body is controlled by genes. A change in a gene is called a mutation. Some of the mutations that have been found in the axolotl affect the development of the eye, heart, legs, skeletal system, and the pigment. The golden and white axolotls are multi-cytoplasm.
First man thought that only man
For animals which have pigment mutations. The 4 large, dark axolotls swimming in the aquarium are a clone of nuclear transplants made by transplanting a nucleus from the cell of a normal embryo into an egg which has abnormal
and possess communication systems. Then we made friends with the dolphins. And now plants take their place among the communicating life forms of this. And he is ready to establish a stable baseline. Since 1969, Marcel Volder,
When you swallow
research chemist at IBM, has been actively engaged in the study of man-plant communication. Vogel believes not only that plants respond to our thoughts, but that they are supersensitive instruments for measuring our emotions. Working with green broadleaf house plants like philodendron, Vogel wraps a copper wire around the plant and attaches a small stainless steel electrode to the plant leaf. The wire is then hooked up to an amplifier and polygraph recorder, slide, so the plant heartbeat on the with the help of his assistant, Chuck Mignosa, Vogel will now attempt to project thoughts of attack and then monitor the plant's response.
So, what I'd like to have you do, Chuck, is to build a strong thought form of an attack. Just think a strong thought of attack. And then commit the act on the front.
Any shift of the needle on the graph is regarded by Vogel as a response from the plant.
When
the
you
needle
swallow
jumps
a
wildly, it is the electrical equivalent of a human spring.
Are tied into the narcophysiogram biofeedback machine. This is the plant response telemetered through the stainless steel electrodes. Here is Marcel's galvanic skin response. This trace is Marcel's pressure and his cardiovascular relaxation and tension of the blood vessels. This trace is the temperature variation coming from Marcel's hand. As you can see, it's lowering. Now be quiet. Now our focus into you, Tom. Tom, do you like women that are focused on your right women? Now here you have my response to your thought, nothing with the plant yet. Now we're getting an emotional response, you see, right here. I had a thought of doing some healing work. Now, leave that operation, that's all.
When you swallow a
There you mix it up. Now it transfers. See, your mind was locked in. There's the thought trying to transfer. Look at this. There's a response to our personal interaction. Really become
raises some false and moral questions. Should we, for instance, give up? And what is natural when we speak of death? The human race has come a long way since Faust. So now we are ready to negotiate with death.
when you swallow a
Dying and death In March of 1963, biologists at the University of Oklahoma confirmed that the skin cells of the Egyptian princess Mene were still intact and, in effect, alive. Yet Princess Mene has been dead for several thousand years. On the process of rediscovering through a branch of science so new that most people have never heard of it. The name is cryonics. Cryonics is a program of extended life. Because of the tremendous gap between the research laboratory and the general practitioner's office, it appears it is no longer appropriate to bury or cremate an individual simply because he is suffering from terminal disease and has suffered a cardiac arrest. In fact, there is much more we can do utilizing the newest developments and breakthroughs in the science of cryobiology and being curable.
when you swallow a
Patient of death. Well, under ideal conditions, a patient would be in a hospital, and just seconds after cessation of heartbeat, death certificate would be signed, constituting legal death. Immediately, the patient's body temperature must be reduced to 0 degrees centigrade just as soon as possible. This is accomplished by usually placing the patient in a cold bath solution and rapidly reducing the Purpose is that we are trying to reduce the metabolism. We are trying to slow down the diet process as rapidly as we can. Preparing the body for the second phase of transformation. This process of perfusion consists of replacing the blood in the body with a biological antifreeze that protects the cells from these very, very low temperatures. Once the patient has gone through the perfusion process, they are placed in a temporary environment of dry ice until a capsule has been prepared. A cryogenic storage vessel made out of stainless steel that will contain the patient's body and also provide the low temperature refrigerant. In this case, we're using liquid
When you swallow a
which has a temperature of minus 320 degrees Fahrenheit. At this temperature, for all practical purposes, time ceased to exist. We are not going down by utilizing low temperature biology. We are slowing down and stopping the dying process just as soon as it legally becomes possible. The churches are very much in agreement with the effect of extending and saving precious life. Here we have a young lady who was placed in chronic suspension, and actually the church not only agreed with the procedure, but actually provided a priest to come down and bless the capsule in hope that indeed that this woman could be saved. So you become interested in this research, Mr. Well, as a child, I was fascinated with the phenomenon of hibernation of animals conceived of the idea of storing away the wheel well of a high-flying jet. He didn't realize that the ordeal that he was about to encounter was a situation where the altitude at 39,000 feet does not have enough oxygen to sustain life.
when you swallow a
Or that the outside temperature is minus 40 degrees, and that the wheel well is not a pressurized compartment. Any one of these factors could have and should have taken his life. 8 hours later, when the plane landed in Madrid, Spain, young Armando fell out onto the pavement, frozen, no heartbeat, and to the astonishment of everyone, and 56 days later he left the hospital well. Scientists from around the world came and examined him and realized that what he did could not be done by the present understanding. And the ultimate conclusion was that Columbus was the first artificially induced case of
Bring home the Mackenzie's
In the
buttermilk
past
crop.
several years, NASA has been allocated millions of dollars for hibernation research as a possible aid to space travel. Personally, I think it'd be a very brave man who would agree first to be frozen alive and then sent out in a rocket to Mars. Is it possible, in fact, Mr. Nelson? We often have requests from patients, terminal patients who are suffering terribly from cancer or other diseases.
When you swallow up,
Who would like to have their bodies chronically suspended as soon before they suffer the final stages of death and the agony and so forth. However, it is not possible because of the legal definition of death. The process cannot be started until cessation of the heartbeat. Would be to their advantage biologically, medically, and I hope we will be able to actually apply these patients who they are in even say chilling development, biological revolution.
Let's go to punch a train.
But not, I think, as mind-stretching and its implications for the future, as is evolving. I recall reading a French essay which suggested that when man is on the God will return. He will smile wryly though not long ago,
10% discount. Bad credit or
growing a whole organism.
Fair Social Security? Are you newlywed?
Sexually in a laboratory.
when you swallow up,
I like to condom has agreed to discuss.
I receive Social Security and welfare.
Social and even the political
With no problem.
of science.
Do you have any credit?
No, I found. Dr. Siegel, is it likely in your opinion that cloned man will become a reality in the near future? Very definite possibility exists that in the foreseeable future it will be possible to clone the most complex mammal of all, man himself. We have the theory, we have the scientific know-how. However, some of the very specialized techniques
We beg them
that
for
are required have not
What
yet
are the
been
problems? Only
achieved.
29
But there's reason for
See a mile wide.
where human cloning finally achieved.
Ingredients and cooked in soybean seed.
Again, I must emphasize,
Rita McKenzie
not
would say
getting
that.
the whole done.
Buttermilk
I think that it would raise some very remarkable ethical problems for all men. So what, after all, it would be would have no counterpart, no problem, no benefit.
when you swallow up,
That they were Xerox copies, as it were, of people who exist or had recently existed, and to contend with this through their lifetime would present
fascinating in her new
a psychological I don't know. I would not like to be a serious.
But seriously.
Certainly cloning would raise to some very practical problems. For example, one can think immediately a dictator who could clone for himself a superior fighting force. People
Für dieses Jahr
virtually invincible
worden ist.
as armed force. People who could be programmed so that they would have no mental block against fighting.
Zeitung vom Atomblitz, alles wurde alles so verharmlost. Einer gab dem anderen die neue Parole. Geht zum Haus.
Here's another very wealthy,
2, 3, 0, 0, 5.
powerful individual might
Ein
have a
neues,
dozen
ruhiges
or
und
so clones of himself prepared.
Schön bis
And these could be kept in storage and could be used
When you swallow up,
for the bare heart. Wealthy old man's heart began to give out. He could get a new heart.
und hat man gesagt,
One of his own copy.
die böse Überraschung.
And there would be no danger whatsoever of transplant. The heart would be
Rickavanien sind
take and would function normal.
morgen um 20:15 Uhr
Some horrible
gleich bei Lenzen.
a leg would most and could be taken, copied, and this could be used to function.
viel Arbeit, nicht?
But here's
Ja,
the
kann man
question.
Oder ist ja so zu Hof mit ganz einfachen.
From whom the spare part
Die saftige Erfrischung.
What indeed would we do with all those people? What would we call the debris?
Heimat. In ihrem Köstlichkeit.
Man become too arrogant. Do we already believe there is nothing that science could not eventually solve? Enormous as it is exciting.
When you swallow up,
Und pass auf den Kleinen auf. Festhalten.
Mankind's future on Earth Where are these new concepts and talents coming from? Are they imprinted in us from the beginning? Are some of us again in contact with angels? Technological angels, if you like, who are better at the game and wiser. I don't know, I'm not thinking. They know more of what's going on down here on this earth than we think. And I don't know, they might have been, you might say, looking for somebody that could, you might say, hold up under the strings and convince people that
When you swallow
that
a
there is another world and there's some kind of life on that world. They. Who are they? Are from planet Earth itself. From far in the future, when we have at last learned to travel backward in time. I like that. Because if that theory is correct, if